Good evening, everyone. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. There we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Ismael Cuevas. I'm a volunteer for the CMC, the Mobility Collaborative. And I just want to thank you all for making time out of your busy evenings to come by to Herbert Elementary for this wonderful meeting we're going to have tonight. Before I start off, I just want to welcome everyone here again. There's a lot of folks. I got really excited coming here because of the 34 years that I've lived in Chicago, AKA my entire life, I've never taken the Brown line all the way to the end. So I grew up all the way on the southwest side, so I was used to taking it all the way to Midway, which is where I grew up. Bienvenidos, muchas gracias por estar aquí esta noche. Va a haber traducción en español, así que van a poder escucharlos en sus audífonos. So before we go on, I just want to acknowledge the presence of some folks that are in the room tonight. I just want to thank the principal for hosting us. Principal Ileana Leon, thank you so much for opening your doors. I know it takes, thank you. I know it takes extra resources for your staff and your faculty, to put the tables and clean the gym for us, so really appreciate all that. Just so you all know, this meeting is being recorded for people who are not able to make it. So there's a live feed happening right now, and they're basically logging on. So we're gonna go over tonight's agenda really quick. So we're gonna feature the principals, our community's voices. Then we're gonna have CDOT give us an update. And then we're gonna do a knowledge sharing presentation from the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety. Then we're gonna break out into our groups. We're gonna have community tables, and I'm gonna kind of go over what that means. And then we're gonna have a breakout conversation. This is where everyone's gonna have around 45 minutes to talk about or discuss whichever group that you choose. And I'll kind of like explain how that happens. Then we're gonna come back, regroup. There'll be a call to action, and then we're gonna close the meeting hopefully around 7:15, 7:20. Before I go off, before I keep on going, how many folks is this the first time coming to a Chicago Mobility Collaborative meeting? Awesome. Well, give yourselves a hand for coming by. I really appreciate it. And how about folks who've been to a couple of other meetings? Raise your hand. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. We got a good mix. All right. So one of our meeting goals multiple meeting goals that we have is make new connections and identify opportunities for partnerships. We want to inform the public on key CDOT projects, traffic safety data, traffic safety strategies. Talk to the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety. Advance conversations and efforts identified at past community tables. And this is really important for the group. This is currently the 1, 2, 3, 4th. If I'm not wrong, this is the 5th meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct. This is the 5th meeting. So the way that we've been working is that we're going across the city. This exact same type of meeting has happened at McKinley Park on the southwest side, Garfield Park on the west side, Hamilton Park on the south side, Reyes Park on the northwest side, and now we're here on the north side. So I bring this up because this is one of the really important things that we talked about in our group of community of volunteers. That we want to make sure that we're going across the city, really spreading the message and really hearing from you all on what is needed in your communities to improve the different modes of transit and traffic and foot traffic in your communities. So that's really important. I want to remind, if we can go to the next slide. I want to remind folks our goals for CMC. So the goal of the Chicago Mobility Collaborative is to establish a forum for meaningful participation, where collaboration is encouraged, learning is facilitated, partnerships are fostered, and where Chicagoans have a voice in the decision-making that impacts them. And like I said, this is really crucial to have to take time out of your day to help us as a city grow and continue making our neighborhoods very safe. Now we're gonna go to our ground rules. So, yeah, next one. There you go. Community agreements of engagement. So we have 6 of them. 1, listen actively to understand others' views and perspectives. 2, one person speaks at a time. 3, seek clarity, avoid making assumptions. 4, be accountable for your words and their impact. 5, your experience is valuable and unique, and it is worth sharing. 6, provide constructive criticism of ideas, projects, not of individuals. Does anyone have something that they would like to add? Well, if not, then we'll keep on going. Now I want to hand over the mic to Principal Leon to talk a little bit about our school and just to welcome the community here. So thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to Hibbard Elementary School. Thank you for introducing me, Ileana Leon. I'm the proud principal of Hibbard Elementary. I'm not new to the community, though. I was former principal across the street. Nope, that way. And I was also a big proponent of what is now that plaza that you see in between 2 schools. Back when I was at Albany Park, it was a vision, and when I came back, it had happened. So I'm excited because our school, if you're ever in the area during the time that students are coming in, you will get stuck here for about an hour. It is a very dense area, and for me, safety is my #1 priority. That was one of the things when I entered in January that I observed. And so I have been a proponent of how we can keep our kids safe. And at the beginning of the school year, really talked to my parents about what are the ways they can help in the springtime, walking, making sure that if they are dropping off kids, that they are dropping them in the Kiss and Go. Unfortunately, we have about 2% of people that do get a little anxious and upset because they're stuck in traffic. And so I think building those partnerships are really important, especially in an area like this where there's about 1,500 or so kids within, we call it a campus, both our school, Hibbard, and then the 2 schools across the street. Personally, I'm always thinking about safety. My son is a cyclist. He doesn't own a car. He races, but he also uses his bike to move from place to place. And so I do think about that often. And I'm extra careful if there are bikers in the area, but not everyone is the same way. So I think of safety in that way. So I'm glad that you all are out here and can have those collaborative conversations to brainstorm some ideas for our communities. So thank you so much. I do want to say our school is a dual language school. And so thank you for translating because that is really important. Language to our school is really, really important. So again, thank you for coming.
So before we go on, quiero hacer para la gente que ocupa traducción en español, vaya acá atrás, va a haber una persona que le puede dar el micrófono para traducirles. Gracias. And I forgot to give a shout out to our volunteers. So I'm a volunteer for the Chicago Mobility Collaborative. Chicago Mobility Collaborative is it's made up of people from Chicago Department of Transportation, but there's also folks who are doing groundwork, who are volunteers like myself. I live in Pilsen. I grew up on the southwest side, and I just wanted to have the volunteers who came tonight to raise your hand and stand up so folks can see you, just so they know that you're volunteers. So thank you all for them. And next up, I'm going to have Brad Huff from CDOT come and give an update about some of the traffic safety data and projects that they've been working on. So thank you.
All right, cool. All right, hey everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces just from many of the meetings we've had this past year. Been a really exciting year. Way too much to throw into a couple minutes of updates. But real quick, and then I'll get to just a couple things I want to highlight, maybe that haven't gotten a lot of attention. 2024 has been just a huge success in terms of complete streets infrastructure throughout the city. Once again, we've installed more bikeways than ever before, more low stress connections than ever before. We're pouring more concrete as a department than we've ever done, making features like raised crosswalks, bus boarding islands, and in-lane stops much more of a standard feature in all of our infrastructure. So before I highlight a few updates, just want to get into a little bit of safety data for you all. And I do have to mention that this is provisional data. So at the end of every year, the department as well as IDOT kind of share numbers and really finalize what the crash numbers are. A lot of this comes from the eCrash data that's on the data portal, but our team actually goes through, especially for fatalities, and sorts through each and every incident to make sure it's counted correctly. You know, there's a lot of miscodings just on the crash report, so we have to take everything with a grain of salt. The data that we're looking at that I'm going to talk about is from the end of October. We're still sorting through the November numbers right now. And so January to October of this year, what we've seen is 99 traffic fatalities. Now, I did mention the finalizing these numbers with IDOT, so at the end of the year, it's likely these numbers will change from either crashes that weren't reported to us to the eCrash, or crashes where someone may have died after the incident. So I do want to put that out there. We've seen about 99 over those first 10 months of the year, 34 people walking, 7 people biking, that includes 1 scooter, and then 58 in motor vehicles. When you look at where we were the same time period last year in 2022, we were at 127. So that's a big difference and a big decrease, which is really nice to see. We're also trending lower than the 5 and 10-year average over this same time period. And so something that's been really encouraging is last year we saw a double-digit decrease in fatalities from 21 to 22. And we're going to see, we expect another double-digit decrease from 22 to 23. Really encouraging, and I think a really good sign that the projects that we're installing are really working, and I think also it's a testament to everyone in the room here that comes and shows up at meetings and voices support for these types of projects. So, all right. Oh, Shamika? All good. So a couple of quick updates. So I don't know if you all have seen, but we did finally, after months and months of working on this, a brand new Complete Streets website. It has a ton more information of all of our different programs, the PED program, bikeways, transit, and traffic safety. We are working really hard to get more and more project data up here and update everything much more often. So we'll be updating this continually throughout next year, so please check that out. Chicago.gov/complete streets. We've also consolidated a bunch of different email addresses. So completestreets@cityofchicago.gov is the best place to reach out to us. And that website is on, or that email is on the website too. Cool. And come join us over at Table 1. CTA finally released the Better Streets for Buses plan, so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So come and join us on that. Another project that we are really excited about are the improvements that we did on Central Park Avenue through Garfield Park. We actually were joined by Mayor Brandon Johnson earlier this week. Maybe it was last week. It's hard to tell anymore. But we were joined by him, CDOT, the Park District, the Garfield Park Conservatory, the Garfield Park Community Council, Alderman Irvin, Alderman Burnett, Active Transportation Alliance, to celebrate a whole bunch of really exciting and new improvements, concrete protected bike lanes, multiple raised crosswalks, expanded pedestrian space, especially at the field house, the Golden Dome, and the conservatory, new pedestrian refuge islands. And that's a project that has already yielded a lot of success. We were already seeing a 60% decrease in cars going over 30. Once again, I think that really shows just like how transformational these projects can be very quickly in terms of encouraging safer speeds and behaviors. You know, and this was also, we were also joined by friends, sadly, a few years ago, right here at the spot where we had our press conference, there was a woman tragically killed by a hit and run just crossing the street with her friend. So we were joined by many of her friends there to honor her legacy there. So it was really nice for her friends to be there, for the mayor to share some words with her. Cool. Like I said, just want to highlight again, more raised crosswalks than ever before. These, again, starting to become much more a regular component of all kinds of different projects. We're starting to get them installed in some of our bigger resurfacing projects or street reconstructions, really seeing these throughout the city. Same thing with bus boarding islands. This is Belmont that just got done earlier this year. Over the last 2 years, we've installed 50 bus boarding islands throughout the city, and we've got plans for a lot more. Once again, incorporating those into a lot more projects in the future. Yeah. This is another one that has not got a lot of coverage, but I do want to highlight it because I'm really excited about it. We've continued to expand our neighborhood bike network program. This was highlighted a lot in our Chicago cycling strategy. This has been really successful. We've started on the west side, so we got a bunch of friends here from Belmont Cragen who helped us a few years ago, and we've been working from the west side down south. This year we're working with partners in Brighton Park, Gage Park, McKinley Park. We've been all throughout the neighborhood. The Safe Ambassadors have been everywhere in that neighborhood doing Learn to Ride events and talking to folks. We've had really successful community engagement. We've been at over 20 meetings. We've been working with a dozen community-based organizations, 400 responses to our online survey. And so right now we've been working with a task force of stakeholders. What you see here is kind of the draft proposed network that we are starting to shift from planning into design. And we're hoping to begin design and implementation of some of these routes next year. There's a big emphasis, especially in this part of the city, of crossing barriers, connecting these neighborhoods together. And so you can see a lot of red lines there on the map. And so we're really focusing on how do we cross these barriers on some of these bigger arterial streets and make you know, a more comfortable connection for folks biking. Other updates real quick. So the Bike Chicago program is still ongoing. We distributed 1,400 bikes this year, and the 2024 distributions will begin next March. Divvy bike share system. We are the largest bike share system by geography in the country. And you may have seen a lot of new blue bikes around the city. I love riding on those things, so I'm glad we've gotten some new ones. We've been expanding the classic fleet, so those blue bikes, the non-electric bikes. So we have more options there, and adding more heavyweight stations so we can expand the footprint of where we can ride those blue bikes. So that's been really exciting to see. And lastly, we're here in the 33rd Ward. Veronica, it's nice to see you. Nice to talk to you. We are working with the 33rd Ward on a couple of new neighborhood projects. We're looking at some Central Park, making a nice connection from all the way up to the trail, really a nice north-south alternative to Kedzie, which is the only marked bike lane in the area going north and south. We're also looking at Berthoud and Cullum as a one-way pair, providing some nice connection to Horner Park. So really excited about those, hoping to get those installed sometime next spring. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Brad. Up next, we're going to be doing a knowledge sharing presentation. We're gonna tie in Alderman La Spada? Yes. Sounds good. As you work on that, I just want to thank the SAFE ambassadors for being here. They're all the way in the back. If you have any questions, you want to take some resources to your block club or any organization you belong to. Our ASL interpreters, thank you for being here. And the folks in the back, thank you for checking people in. All right, give us a second, folks. So it'll be Alderman La Spada, Committee of Pedestrian and Traffic Safety, who will be speaking to you all. We're going to have him on the screen. Yep.
Thank you for your patience. Oh, that's why. Don't do that. Don't listen to me. Go ahead. Talk to him.
All right. All set?
Yep.
There we are. Hey, this is Alderman Daniel Spada in the 1st Ward. If you see me periodically looking off to the side, there's a 15-month-old going through the recycling just to the right of me. But I'm so glad that I can still be with you this evening because the work of this committee means a lot to me personally. I probably learned to walk when I was about her age. Baby, Linda. Learned to walk at about 12 months, learned to ride a bike at about probably 10 years. Did not learn how to drive a car until I was 39, which gives you a sense of the mobility choices and priorities that I was making then and still make. And I wanted to be a part of this committee 4 years ago because this work matters to me, because I am almost running out of fingers to count the number of times I've been hit by a car on my bike in my life. And I know that I want to ride a bike with my daughter. And yet for 5 years, this was really not much more than a sign ordinance committee. All the time that we were serving last year, the number of fatalities was either stagnating or going up in this city. And now I'm really glad for where we're at, because I'm here for knowledge sharing. And the interesting thing is this, as I shared with Alex Nitkin from Better Government Association, this is not rocket science. The work of zero traffic fatalities in Chicago is a few key things put together. It is people driving more slowly with well-designed infrastructure and more education about how to treat each other humanely and compassionately as we're getting around our city. You might be hearing somebody in my background. And I appreciate that, being a part of that work and my team, because it takes courage. And I think it takes too much courage to do the kind of work that Brad is talking about right now. I think if there's a parting piece that I would leave with the committee is that the work that we're talking about takes a critical examination of privilege. And I'll say 3 things to that. Number one, it is a privilege the way our roads and infrastructure have been designed for the past 60 years. Our roads have been designed for single driver users to get where they want to go as fast as they want to go. And unfortunately, the net result of that is pollution, congestion, injuries, and fatalities. To me, it's an experiment that has failed. And so making the changes that we need from an infrastructure or policy position takes examining the privilege that designed our former system. And then there's the privilege that I carry. Listen, at the end of the day, I walk probably 15% of my trips. I take my bike 60, 70%, and use the CTA for the remaining 20%. That alone conveys a lot of privilege. I can go up the stairs, no problem. I can ride my bike in so many different conditions. For Chicagoans with disabilities, Chicagoans with children, Chicagoans with considerations that I've never had to live with, I appreciate the way they reach out to me and my team and help me to check the privileges that I carry in the way that I act in with Chicago's infrastructure. But finally, there's the privilege that older people carry, that prerogative that ward by ward, community by community, shapes our infrastructure. It's why if you go down Milwaukee Avenue, even as recently as a year, it will feel differently every single ward that you ride through. That cannot continue to be true. For the Chicago that we need to build, that can't continue to be our political infrastructure reality. And so please know, in addition to the work that we're doing around policy, around infrastructure, around community engagement, that work is going to have to include checking that prerogative, both by culture and policy and potentially by ordinance, in service of a city where everyone gets home safe and alive, no matter how they choose to travel. Thank you so much for having me this evening, and I look forward to the wonderful table that my team is going to be hosting a little bit later in the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Laspada. All right, so now we're going to go into our breakout sessions. We're going to have about 35 to 40 minutes to discuss various topics. So we have 4 tables here. So table 1, can you raise your hand? All right, so before I go on, just because you're sitting on a table doesn't mean you have to stay in that table. So as soon as we break out, you can move around, you can shuffle around. All right, table 1, the Better Streets for Transit table will discuss the recently released Better Streets for Buses plan, the projects mentioned in the document, and its implementation efforts. This table is co-facilitated by CDOT, CTA, and the Metropolitan Planning Council. Table number 2, can you raise your hand? All right, table number 2. The Beyond the Bike Lane will discuss existing programs and street closure permits that allow communities to activate public spaces. We will hear from community partners who have worked and are working with CDOT on organizing such events to better understand how these types of activations come together. We would also discuss potential opportunities to streamline this process moving forward. This table is co-facilitated by Jonathan Kelly, North Lawndale Pop-Up Spot, and SIDA. Table number 3, raise your hand. All right, table number 3. This will be facilitated in person and virtually. Half of the facilitators will connect via Zoom to facilitate the same conversation with attendees joining via Zoom. The Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety will provide an overview on how to work with City Council. We'll further discuss the role of the committee and how it operates. And we'll provide best practices on how to effectively communicate with your alderperson. Table number 4, on that side. We'll discuss Chicago Moves Electric, a framework being developed to serve as a roadmap for CDOT to evaluate, plan, and identify opportunities to create greater accessibility to electric vehicles and e-mobility, define regulations and design for charging infrastructure, and pilot curbside charging stations. This table will provide an overview of the framework. It will be an opportunity to collect feedback to be used in the development of this roadmap, and we'll also discuss opportunities to be involved in the development of this framework. So now we're gonna, you can all get up and move around how you want. We're gonna go off Zoom, and then we'll reconvene in about 35 minutes. Thank you. All right, sounds good. So now we're back. So 7:23. Let's see if we can wrap up right before 7:30. We want to regroup by inviting a representative from each table to summarize our conversation. We want to elevate the outcomes of the conversation, share the next steps and actions, Will your team be meeting again outside this meeting? Will you meet again at another CMC meeting? How can others get involved from your group? So let's start off with table number 1. Who wants to come up here and give a brief 1-minute summary? And folks, if you come up here, please speak here. Speak close to the mic.
Hello. Hey there, my name is Wyatt. I'm representing Group 1, which is the bus lane group, Better Buses Chicago Better Buses. I guess the sort of overall thing that we talked about was that this is a very difficult challenge trying to make bus rapid transit a thing in any city, but particularly in Chicago. And well, maybe not particularly, but just in general. People are attached to their cars, and so we attempted to discuss a lot how we get people to engage in a process when potentially they don't really know what it looks like at the end point. So there were some arguments for sort of a build it and they will come approach, which I happen to agree with as the representative. But then there's an ongoing discussion about how do you get people involved in something that they don't really understand, and it's not the people who are riding the bus who need to understand. It's so many others. The presenters who made this plan did a really great job. It looks really cool. There's 4 corridors and 2 will be chosen. Am I making that up? 3. So 3 will be chosen, and they'll be it's slowly inching our way towards bus rapid transit, but it's not totally there. They're doing a great job and they're representing us well. Thank you.
Thank you, table 1, for sharing. How about table 2?
Thank you so much. My name is Kyle Lucas. I was at table 2, and we were talking about beyond the bike lane, open boulevards and open streets, which is very exciting. So one of the first things that I actually wasn't aware of, so this was a bit informational for me today, is there's a couple of different programs that are available that are existing. So there's the Open Boulevards program, which is done through a permitting process with DCASE, who manages like events for the city, and then they're doing a lot of these with North Lawndale. So we had someone from North Lawndale talking about stuff that they've done there, which are really cool. They have a lot of street vendors. They do bike rides. But there are some limitations with that program in that there's limitations with funding with DCASE and times of years that can be done. They really only have the capacity to do it during the fall. And so we were discussing different ways that we could start to do similar types of programs through a framework that exists with the Chicago Department of Transportation with Open Streets. And so with that, there are some limitations, they can't have specifically food trucks and food vendors, but there are opportunities for doing different types of programming. And so we were talking about ways that community partners can apply for these permits, and so that you can apply for the permit to a one-off thing, or they're open to start doing more regular things. So if we want to do a monthly type thing on a certain stretch of street in a community, that's an option that they're looking at the possibility of doing, which is really exciting. So we talked, as a group, talking about different corridors that we thought could be really interesting for this sort of treatment. Things like Clark Street, Lincoln Avenue, different streets that are really pedestrian and vibrant, where we could have some really cool opportunities there. And then, just talking about, how can we identify some community partners, get some community buy-in with businesses and that sort of thing. So it was a really interesting conversation, learning about, different ways that we as communities can actually engage with the city to start opening up some of our streets for people. So.
Thank you. Table 3. Table 3, and actually table 4, so we can have them line up and be ready. 3 and 4, come up. Who's already up? There you go. You got 1 minute.
Alrighty, I'm from Table 4, and Table 4 was Chicago Moves Electric, which is a new initiative being done by CDOT. And the purpose of the initiative is to basically make electric vehicles ubiquitous across the city. So instead of having it all concentrated in like the Gold Coast and downtown, make it so everyone has the option. So we learned that there are 3 types of charging. There's 110 volt, which is like plugging into your wall socket. Takes like, you get 3 through 5 miles per hour, like not like speed, but like distance. You have level 2, which is like 220 volts, 40 miles per hour. That's like overnight. And then level 3, which are like DC fast charging, which is like 300 miles in an hour. So one of the challenges of the initiative is to just make sure, like I said, this is ubiquitous across the city. So that's one of the challenges that the initiative is facing. In addition to that, we didn't really talk too much about like e-bikes or e-scooters. However, e-bikes and e-scooters, are across the city, and scooters Chicago's like the only place that has dockable scooters for like the divvy stations. And the CTA would like to be electrified by 2026 through 2040. Let's see, what else do we have? So we have, the city has 15 million for electrifying like the city fleet for these things called bucket trucks. And then there's 18 million for like regional electrification. Because apparently cars account for like a quarter of the greenhouse gas emissions, and that's going up more and more as like buildings become more energy efficient. So there you go.
Thank you. All right, since I don't see anyone for table 3, I'm gonna. All right, someone's coming up.
Hi, my name is Morgan Mataram. I actually led the table, but my table is very shy, so I'm up here. Maybe next time. Our table is called City Council, the Inside Scoop. So Iris and I work on the Committee of Pedestrian Traffic Safety for Alderman Laspada, like we were talking about earlier. So we were talking about the power and control that alder people and the mayor have over safe streets and infrastructure and policy in our city, as well as the work that the committee has been working on. The Chairman Laspada has been chair of the committee for about 6 months, so we're very new to our roles, and the things that we're doing are not things the committee was doing before. So we're really excited to get to work on this. We had a homework assignment for folks at our table and for all of you to listen to a city council meeting or a committee meeting or give public comment or submit written comment. So if you want to do that homework assignment and come to our table at the next CMC meeting, we'd love to have you.
All right, now we're going to go to the call to action. So the RTA, which is the Regional Transit Authority, is currently looking to fill 2 seats on their Citizen Advisory Council Board. It's a volunteer board. They meet quarterly. The non-voting members may elect to be compensated approximately $400 per meeting. And if you're interested, please contact Kendra Johnson, and here's the email and the telephone number. So we can have this information available after the meeting, or you can take a picture of it now. So now we're gonna close our meeting. So a couple things. The community tables, there's some flyers there for you to submit your ideas if there's anything that wasn't discussed during your discussions. The CMC meeting dates are on the website. And again, we want to thank Hibbard Elementary School for hosting us, the principal and her staff. So round of applause. We want to appreciate all the folks who are online watching us. Thank you all for zooming in and staying in with us. Our elected officials, 33rd Ward, 1st Ward, of staffers. I used to be a staffer for Aldermanic office, so thank you all for giving up your night. Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety, CTA, city departments, all the folks who are out here, the crew, the TV crew, thank you all. And the next meeting, save the date, March 14, 2024, will be in Chinatown, location TBD, but if you have any friends on that side of the city, please invite them and spread the word. Anything else from Romina? And a shout out to Romina for organizing this. Take care, everyone. Have a good night. Bike, walk, bus safely.